I have a game for you now. It's very simple. It will cost you $10 to play. I'll flip a coin. If the coin comes up heads, you will lose your $10. If it comes up tails, I'll give you back your stake plus another $10, plus I'll throw in a little bonus, an extra 10 cents. So this is a game with known quantities. Your chance of winning is 50%, your chance of losing is 50%. The cost of losing is $10, the benefit of winning is $10.10. We can calculate using these numbers that you will win an average of 5 cents every time you play. If you play 100 times in a row, you will, on average, walk away with $5. You might not. It's conceivable that you are extraordinarily lucky, winning every single toss of the coin. You might lose every time, but the odds are that you will win slightly more than you lose. So, would you like to play? If you thought no, you have some explaining to do. I hope your reasons can be justified mathematically. Because if you're refusing to play this game based purely on that uneasy sensation in your stomach, that feeling that this is some kind of setup and there's something I'm not telling you, well, you are a very cynical individual. You're right, of course, but you're the kind of right that you might find difficult to explain. You're the kind of right that was in short supply at several major financial institutions until recently, which are now worth many billions of dollars less than they used to. The players, on the other hand, have logic on their side. It is mathematically certain that the game, on average, leaves you 5 cents ahead per play. Unfortunately, I must point out that if you play this game long enough, it's also mathematically certain that you will go bankrupt. You may have to play it a long time, but the outcome is inevitable. Because while you can keep playing forever while you stay in the black, once you hit an unlucky streak and run out of money, that's the end. You can't afford the $10 to play again. This may seem obvious, but it's an essential point. Bankruptcy in this game is monstrously unfair. You have, after all, more chance of winning than losing. You might have been a long way ahead at one point before you hit a losing streak. And if you were able to keep playing, the odds are that you would recover your losses and pull ahead again. But you can't keep playing. You're forced to stop at your lowest point. There have been many studies into this phenomenon and an algorithm known as the Kelly criterion developed to combat it. The Kelly criterion can analyse a game like this one and tell you how much of the money you possess it's worth gambling in order to take advantage of odds that are stacked in your favour, but without undue risk of losing at all. An interesting aspect is that the Kelly criterion invariably recommends gambling less than you think. In our game, for example, the Kelly criterion says that pulling that initial $10 out of your wallet is a bad idea unless you have at least another $2,000 stashed in there. Otherwise, there's too much risk, even though, again, the odds are in your favour. The Kelly criterion is not being cautious here. It's not making a subjective judgment. It's a purely mathematical accounting of the significance of the danger of cashing out at your lowest point. This is perhaps a risk that you players did not consider. Were there any other risks you missed? What about my trustworthiness? I might take your stake but refuse to pay out if you win. And how easily can you afford to lose that $10? If it's the last note in your wallet, it might be difficult to replace. It might leave you unable to afford your train ride home, leading to a difficult conversation with your spouse, divorce, bankruptcy. Did you factor in the risk that there may be risks you haven't considered? But I am cheating, of course. I do not expect for 1 second that any person who sided with the mathematics to accept this as anything but changing the rules. And I will grant you this, although not without observing that this is also the attitude of Gary Gorton, the man who designed the risk model that recommended American International Group, or AIG, invest in $400 billion of credit default swaps, which then bankrupted the company, froze the world's credit markets, and forced the US government to begin a $1 trillion bailout of the survivors. Gorton's model told AIG that there was very low risk of default in those credit swaps, which